Cheers. Took a while before I found a wine opener.
I love
Haven't
it.
it's been a year I think since the last time I opened a bottle of wine in this house.
I don't think that's what you're supposed to do.
I shouldn't lick the bottle.
It's gonna be a great show.
It's gonna be a great show. How come that every time we do a show, there's alcohol involved?
Oh, there has to be.
What are we having today?
Colombian coffee beans.
Colombian.
Yeah, the finest that you can buy.
Wow. Where did you get them?
Our local supermarket.
My God. What's your favorite coffee country?
I've been loving the Colombian ones. The Colombian ones are great for me.
Mm-hmm.
But in Italy, I remember just having the best coffee ever.
Because they know how to make it.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Tell me about your summer. You were bouncing around so much.
My summer. The 90 days in Asia were insane, to be honest. So many things started just flowing. Like, one thing happens, next thing happens, next thing happens. And because the first decision you make, all the rest follows, right? And that's the cool stuff.
No, 100%. Dude, I'm a big believer in the butterfly effect. You seen that movie, right?
Yes, but I gotta rewatch it again.
Yeah, basically one thing happens, then cascading effects. And I've really felt that so much, especially this year, dude. Like, it's insane, like, the momentum that I'm feeling right now for myself, and I think that you're feeling as well. Like, dude, like, everything's just going right now, and it just keeps on happening. And just crazier and crazier stuff. Like, a couple days ago being on Mario's podcast, now here with you. Another one later. It's unbelievable. And then last week being in Washington, D.C. The only reason I was in this Washington, D.C. thing, I, like, just randomly decided to write an article about Deepin crypto regulations and talking about my perspectives on it, and now it's going to be in Cointelegraph, and because of this traction, and then I get invited to Washington DC, and like, dude, I literally just wrote this thing on an airplane on the way home because I was like, why not? I don't have Wi-Fi, why don't I just write this article? And the next thing you know, like, all this stuff starts happening. Like, I think just dude, when in doubt, just do it. I think that's the
exactly. Just send that message, just do that thing, just post that article.
Just do it, bro. Like, let's just jump on this thing once a week. Why not? Let's just do it.
Yeah, exactly.
And you are too, yeah, man. Like, so the Kualu move, super exciting, man. Like, I'm the biggest Kualu fan. I think there's so much potential there. Like, when I'm looking at companies that I would want to invest in, one of the key factors is, does it have billion-dollar potential? And I really believe this has billion-dollar potential, which is so massive to me.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special episode of the LP Roundtable. Today we have Deepin Aaron with us. Aaron from IoTex, a good friend I met in Thailand on the Villa Solana from my tech CEO who was about to join but didn't join after all. We are doing a year in review episode today. A year in review, we're going to reflect on 2024, but also going to look forward into 2025. What's exciting. And there's a lot that happened in 2024. We had the Bitcoin ETFs that got approved. We had meme coins that suddenly became a real economy. Let's call it the attention economy. We had the Ethereum ETF that got approved as well. We had Deepin that actually became a real part of the industry, I think, for the first time. That term was actually used by everyone. So much happened. So many conferences as well. I think Aaron did a lot more than me. So that's what we're going to discuss in this episode. So welcome, Aaron. Welcome to the LP Roundtable. This is your second time around the table. So welcome and say hi to the audience.
Absolutely. Yeah, our first time was super special out in our villa in Thailand there. That was honestly incredible. I still have great memories of that. I still always show it to people, literally speaking for like, what, 2 hours, 3 hours? Literally got dark as we were speaking. Just goes so fast when you're speaking with friends. And that's honestly the best format, in my opinion, is just a couple friends hashing it out, talking about things that they're interested in, whether it's crypto, whether it's Deepin, whether it's whatever topic. I think that's the best. And I think the audience loves it. So I think we should keep doing that kind of a thing. But yeah, I'm Aaron Basi, head of product at IoTex. Been there for 3 years. My specialty is in product management, and I've been working in product management my entire career, like, what is that, like 7 years now? And yeah, I know how to build really great apps for users. I'm really focused on the customer first, and I brought that kind of mindset to IoTex for the last 3 years, and one of the products that we launched was deepinscan.io. So check that out. It's really a great place to get started in the Deepin space. If you're not familiar, you can jump in and learn about all the different Deepin projects. And at the end of the day, that's the number one thing for us at IoTex, is just trying to bring this Deepin sector forward. We were a part of the inception of the name just around 2 years ago, so I got to see that whole thing. and see deep into what it's become today, which is like a $40 billion dollar market cap sector of crypto, and it's definitely within the mainstream crypto consciousness at this point. So, yeah, super excited what the space, where the space is going, and I think it's a great time to jump in and learn about it.
Only 40 billion yet,
Yeah,
right?
the sky's the limit.
Where is Deepin going? I forgot a little part of the introduction, so I'm just gonna add it in. I'm not gonna edit this, but every time me and Aaron do a stream, we also drink alcohol. This is not something I'm used to, but it's just this influence that Aaron has on me, and also because it's Christmas. I think that's why we are wearing the Christmas hats, but also the kimonos. The kimonos has a different story. I'll give the background there. Last week I was watching a stream on X from Thread Guy with Luke Belmar, and Luke Belmar arrived on the stream with a kimono. So I was like, okay, if Luke Belmar can do the kimono, we can do the kimono. I don't know where's my glasses right now. Oh, here's my glasses. So I got my Solana glasses. I got my kimono ready, and yeah, it's Solana summer, right? It's been Solana summer for the past few months, and thanks to Solana, we met each other as well. So that's amazing.
Back in Koh Samui, unbelievable.
In Koh Samui, indeed. Actually, in Singapore. We
Singapore first, right?
we
And
met
then
we met in
yes,
Singapore when waiting for the plane
yes, so crazy.
to fly to Koh Samui to go to the Villa Solana to work there with the Solana community for a month, which was amazing. I learned a lot about that ecosystem there. I'm not sure about you. I think you were more on the deep inside of things. How was that experience for
Pretty
you?
dialed into deep and stuff, but I love venturing out. Honestly, I don't really just dive into Deepin at this point. I just like learning about other things because I'm already so deep in the Deepin space. If someone wants to learn about it, definitely like I'll teach them about it. But yeah, just trying to learn about the other things there and soak it all in.
What's your biggest learning from the whole Singapore Thailand adventure?
Yeah, there's definitely like a great energy in building in crypto right now. Like I know that the market didn't really start kicking off until seems like recently, but you could feel energy and you could feel the momentum towards that. So like on the dev side and all these builders, especially in the Solana house there, like it was clear that there's something special happening, and now we're seeing it to come to fruition with the elections. I think were a big factor. So I just came back from Washington D.C. on Wednesday last week, and I was able to see like all these regulators really starting to come into the fold, and they don't know like a lot of the specifics. They basically know about stable coins, and that's the extent of it. And there's a very I can get into some of the reasons why they're like loving these stable coins, and that's like the best use case for them so far. But there's actually so many other use cases that I was there talking to them about. I was talking to them about Deepin and all this, but it's very clear that in the next short amount of time, there's going to be some regulation that's passed in the U.S., which is going to honestly, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's going to skyrocket things. It's going to make a huge difference when there's assuredness that this is security. This is what the regulations are. Then it makes companies much more willing to invest their money there. Because right now, everyone's basically going abroad to try and build these things when they should really be building in U.S. for
Yeah.
a lot of the part.
I hear a lot of predictions of that next year or this cycle is going to be the year of the stablecoins, and that stablecoins are going to be probably the first use case that actually is going to be adopted by the whole world in a sense, or by other industries except for crypto. Is that what you were pointing towards?
Yeah, so the reason why stable coins are such a big thing on Capitol Hill in the US is because they've realized like, oh, this is actually a huge exporter of the US dollar. And the reason is because, well, there was a time when all these stable coins weren't really backed by the US dollar. Now they want to introduce regulations which says every single US DT or USDC has to be backed by the US dollar. And that means much more demand for the US dollar. So this means increased value of the US dollar. So they've realized this, and that's why there was this bill Fit 21, which basically the entire focus of it was these stable coins. It unfortunately got squashed right before it was about to enter the Senate. But with that being said, it's clear that everyone on Capitol Hill right now seems to be in agreement that they should move this forward. So the Republicans are all in. Several of the Democrats are in, and right now their goal is to try and bring more Democrats in, and they see the very clear, advantage of the increased demand for this U.S. dollar. So that's why I think it's going to go forward, and I think it's going to continue to be a big thing for them.
Interesting. So we are already at the predictions of next year before even reflecting on last year.
Yeah, no, yeah, I can. When I was there, you can clearly see like, okay, it's gonna happen. I guess one of the reflections was that the Fit 21 did not pass, right? So yeah, the fact that it did not pass was not great for the crypto market, in my opinion. But now this is why it's kind of like the cap has been pulled off now with Trump entering, and it's like, okay, these things are going to start passing, especially the left and right coming together. There's in my opinion, very 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 little chance that it does not pass.
Yeah, yeah. Even in the All In podcast this weekend, that was mentioned. I think Chamath mentioned about stable coins, and an example he gave was that Starlink collects payments, then exchanges it to stable coins, then sends it to the US and exchanges it to US dollars again, because that saves them from the foreign exchange rate. That's from other like vulnerabilities in the whole system. Like it's just so much easier, cheaper, less risks, less fees, less everything. Like it makes total sense. It just got to be regulated. What's holding back regulations? Or now it's kind of cleared up with Trump winning.
Yeah, I was talking from the regulator side, and you're 100% right. Like from the actual user side, like the advantages there are also very clear. And I don't know what you do when you're trading as well. Like I'm always, well, I hop between stable coins and actually like these meme coins and stuff like that a lot. Whereas I don't really go meme coin to meme coin for the most part at this point. You kind of want to just have something stable in between these kind of pushes. So I definitely think there's a like ton of use case just for the regular retail person as well.
Okay. Yeah, I wanna ask you later about your trading and investment thesis, but first let's do a bit of the year in review, right? Let's go back to January of this year. Do you remember what happened in January of this year? What I remember back
Bitcoin? Oh
then
no,
was
yeah. Go ahead.
I do remember that this was a time that WIF, I think, came into the real light. Like I remember seeing WIF in December and November, I think, like when it was like 000 whatever. Never really acted, did giggle about it, like ha ha ha, Doc WIF hat. But then like January, February, I think WIF became really a thing. And I feel like that's also one of the first meme coins that actually established the meme culture on Solana. Was it around that time?
I think you're right. Yeah, I think it was around that time. I remember actually because I was in Mexico at the time, and I think that's when the Bitcoin ETF passed. Actually, I think the Bitcoin ETF passed. Bitcoin didn't really kick off much, but the meme coin started going crazy around that time, and I think that was like part of all the factor there was just like, okay, Bitcoin ETF passed. Now everything just started pumping all of a sudden. All the Deepins actually all started pumping as well at that time. So Deepin, I remember if I look at my charts of deepinscan.io page views in February, January, it's actually just like went to the moon basically, and then it went down, and now it's finally back up to where it was back then.
Hmm.
So interest in this space just went crazy during that time. I think because of
Yeah.
these meme coins is a huge factor.
No, indeed. I think you're right.
You remember actually? It was like a tweet that went out from Gary or like from like
The
an
fake
official
tweets.
account. And then it was like, oh yeah, this was the intern posted it by accident or something like that. But then
Yes.
like a little bit later, then it actually was posted. Like, okay, it actually was a thing that was supposed to be posted. Do you remember that? I
I
think that
do
was like
remember that.
January. I think that would have been like January 5th last year or something like that. I remember specifically because I was in Mexico. I was like freaking out. What is happening right now? The
Yes.
intern accidentally posted this thing in the government official Twitter.
Yes, that was the perfect lore. That was insane. Like you couldn't have written it better than that. And also the hacker or whoever did this, like they played it extremely well.
Yeah,
He couldn't have written a better tweet. Like
yeah,
that was so
100%.
legit, so amazing.
Yeah, 100%. And I remember at the time Bitcoin was only like 40,000, dude. Yeah, it was a definitely a good time to get in. And then the Bitcoin halving was not too much after that. And I think Bitcoin halving would have been April. It was actually April
Yes.
20 on
Yes.
420, which is
Yes.
again crazy. So I was in New York City. We hosted an event there specifically for the Bitcoin halving, just because we knew it was going to be lining up then. And we rented out this art gallery, and we had like a bunch of wine and everything like that, free pizzas for everyone, and just talking about the Bitcoin halving and a lot of this. One of the big narratives at the time was all like the Bitcoin layer 2 stuff, and it
Mm,
still is like a decent narrative, but like yeah, that was a very very big thing then, all the ordinals and everything like that, and Bitcoin had like a very very big spotlight at that time, and it didn't really pump too much after that. It wasn't until recently it just started going crazy, and I think it was a lot related to the regulations and making it very clear that Trump was going to be.
I think this is a very clear theme of 2024 that we see in like the Bitcoin dominance. Except for Bitcoin going up, many altcoins have just round tripped whatever pump they made. They also went down again a few months later or whenever Bitcoin cooled off. And I guess that's the story of the year. Like in the beginning, it was the Bitcoin ETF. Also, speculation on like Bitcoin layer twos, what's going to be built on Bitcoin. This like getting introduced, getting some hype, but nobody really solving any issues. It's just like copy paste things to build on top of Bitcoin because someone figured out how to build on Bitcoin, and a lot of funding went there. I even remember these moments when like we went from ordinals to runes. Runes
Yep.
was gonna be the next big thing, right? If you
Yep.
don't have any rune stones, you're not gonna make it. Rune stones are going to retire you, right? And then runes come out, and these rune stones just go minus 90%. Like the same old story, the same old cycle of hype. But like people were really expecting the Bitcoin ecosystem to become something. And I'm wondering if that's gonna happen, when's that gonna happen? The arguments they made was there's more liquidity locked in Bitcoin than any other chain, which is an argument to be made indeed. The question is who wants to move their Bitcoin to a place which might be less safe? And I think that's a big one to solve for these layer 2 on Bitcoin builders before they can unlock that big liquidity in Bitcoin. And there's just so many other options out there in terms of chains to do different use cases. In my opinion, they should just keep Bitcoin as Bitcoin. I don't know. What do you think? Like, should people be building on Bitcoin or should people build on a chain that's actually used to build on top of it?
Yeah. I think maybe you need to look a little bit into the psychology of the person or like the customer basically. A bit like we were talking about before this call is like, okay, who's the user for this? And I think that's kind of what you're getting at there is like people that are storing Bitcoin on a ledger, which is probably most people, I don't know the exact statistics, but probably a good portion of them at this point just have it stored away. They're probably not looking to unlock that liquidity and do crazy stuff with it. They're just kind of having it stored there on their ledger, just forget about it until X amount of years. And I do think that's a huge portion of those people. But then again, in general, people that are in crypto, period, are probably a little bit more into the risk. They're kind of,
Yes.
they're not like probably the people that are just investing in, Johnson and Johnson, some of these U.S. S&P 500 stocks are probably less risk averse, or maybe they're just sitting in the bank. Maybe some more study has to be done there on who the exact user is, but I'm sure there is people that are going to be down. Like clearly this runes thing became somewhat of a thing, and I think maybe it just needs to be something where people need to get used to it, see it out there, and see some success stories, and see that there is potential to be money made there, and that it's very safe and secure. Otherwise, I think it's really difficult to safe. It needs to be safe
I
at the end of
mean,
the day.
it's a great point of like who's the user. But then I also think about like, okay, they introduced runes as this is the ERC20 standard for Bitcoin. Now Bitcoin can have shitcoins on top of it, right? So you would think like the use case for that is speculation. And the people wanting to speculate are the people that we're now talking about, right? Like those that want to move their stuff around, not on a ledger, but like moving it, using it. And we haven't really seen that happening. We haven't really seen that moving onto Bitcoin. Why? I guess because it was too expensive. Like if there was a lot of transactions happening, it didn't make any sense to pay the Bitcoin fees, just like it didn't make any sense to pay the Ethereum fees at peak NFT time. And I think users just go wherever they can use the things and can speculate without having to think too much. And I think that's probably the reason why Solana won these past few months, right? Like if it's too expensive to trade an NFT on Bitcoin, that just go to buy and sell it on Solana where it costs me less than a cent, right? And I guess like that's what Solana did very well this year, or actually the past few years, but this year it really became a thing when Pump.Fun came out. I think the first time me finding Pump.Fun was very early before I've even seen it on Twitter or anywhere. I was like, what the fuck is this website?
Hmm.
I don't trust this. I'm not gonna link my wallet to a website where a button is made with two brackets and a word. Like, it was like, who the fuck built this? This doesn't look like something legit. Um, but it was there, and Solana democratized token minting. Like, suddenly, Pump.Fun democratized it. Pump.Fun made it easy for anyone to create a token. and boom, 10 months later, look where we are, right? Millions and millions of tokens are being launched, have been launched on that platform. I think they made 1 billion of profit just this year, like as one of the first protocols, maybe the first to make 1 billion in less than a year as revenue. So yeah, maybe your perspective on Solana, the growth of Solana, and how they positioned themselves as the consumer chain, because I think 2024 probably was the year that Solana became the consumer chain, topping all the other chains that are out there in terms of metrics, revenue, TVL, users. Maybe not TVL, I'm not sure about that, but like they're just topping every
Yeah.
metric.
I definitely think, okay, so let me story time. So Pepe was one of the big tokens for me that made actually quite a bit of money for me. I think it was last year. It would have been like September last year. Yeah, I remember when I was in Singapore, like just before that. So actually, it was like summer last year, 2023, when I was investing in that, and I was paying like really high fees to be able to make this happen. But I still bit the bullet every single time because the potentials were to make like 7x, 10x were all there, and I was making that kind of money, which was amazing. And fast forward to today, where you don't have to even worry about the fees. Dude, it's like night and day. Like you can just trade freely, like in and out, and it makes such a big difference. And I think that is like I think you were touching that on that as well is such a big difference. Like the pump fund is definitely a huge thing that anyone can just mint any token. We have something similar on IOTEX too. It's called Robo Fund or Robo Pump actually. And people are minting tokens. There's an IO Pepe and there's all these different tokens, which is awesome. And like it's actually like a grassroots thing, which we're really excited about. But the low prices of the gas fees was, I think, it was one of the big drivers of that.
And like even if you see it right now, right? Like Pump Fund made so much money in revenues. Solana made more revenues from transaction fees than Ethereum did, even with the low transaction fees. It's just
Thing.
like it's this graph that crosses each other in a sense. Like you just pass the competition if you're faster, better, easier to use. And I
But
think
that is actually a mind blowing thing, though, right?
it is. Yeah. Yeah, it's mind blowing that with less fees they still make more revenue as a chain. And that's great to see. And maybe that also is a segue into layer twos. Are we having too many layer twos these days? Or not?
Yeah, that's an interesting topic for sure. I think in general with chains, I think there's going to be some consolidation. I think that that's kind of been a thing for a while that some of these things are going to consolidate. And I think that maybe that's part of the layer two things. They're kind of backing certain layer ones because people used to say the same thing about layer ones: is there too many layer ones? But then you see a Solana and what they've done. It kind of gives the other projects hope or the other layer ones hope that okay, there is some space for other layer ones, especially niche layer ones, like a deep and focused layer one, for example, aka IOTEX. But there's also a need. I think there's a need for layer twos, especially with relating to scalability. But I think there's too many layer twos. Yes, correct. How about
Okay.
you?
Interesting. 2024 was also the year that Base became a thing. I
Mm-hmm.
think Base got introduced really in 23. I still remember cruising around on a scooter in Vietnam when I was learning about Base.
Mm-hmm.
First time when Base got online, but Base is built on the Optimism stack. So, but if you then look at like Optimism, the token itself is like somewhere place 47 to 50 on CoinGecko, CoinMarketCap. It's nowhere to be seen amongst the big guys. But Base is built on it, and after Solana, or maybe even together with Solana, Base is dominating right now, Q4 2024, right? So you have a layer 2 Base. I don't even know if you can call it a layer 2. Like, I think it's a layer 2. And then you have Solana as a layer 1. Like, those two are dominating. And then, like, we can take Sui in it as well, who's getting traction these past months.
Yeah.
Like, I
So.
think those are, like, the three current players on the block that have it all to potentially succeed.
Mm-hmm.
What I find interesting there is that Base is built on optimism. There is a lot of other projects also built on optimism. Like, is optimism actually the enabler for L2s to build a very specific use case L2 and then adopt it? And is optimism gonna become the super chain after all that then plugs into ETH? Or how is this all gonna work? Like, that's a very interesting thought process that I sometimes go through. Like, how is this all gonna play out? Base is probably not gonna get a token. Is Coinbase gonna tokenize its stock, or and does that become the Base token because the Base revenues go actually into Coinbase revenues, which then help the stock in terms of P&L, right? Or PE ratios. And that's maybe a speculation for next year. Like, is Coinbase going to tokenize its own stock coin? And is that actually going to represent also the base chain? And if so, that would be super cool, groundbreaking, next level shit. Maybe if I have to do a bold prediction, that's the one.
Yeah,
I might
interesting.
do that as a bold prediction, but what do you think about that? Like the whole layer two spaghetti, things being built on optimism, but optimism really not accruing any value there. Like, what's the role of optimism in the whole L2 game, and which L2s are here to stay and which are here to maybe go next cycle?
Yeah, I'm honestly I haven't dove into it like that, but that is such an interesting perspective that all these things are being built on optimism. So I'm really curious to dive in. I actually see like where's this all this revenue accruing because it's interesting that it's not really seeming to boost optimism the way that you'd think it would. But
It's
100% I
that
see the momentum with base. Like it's very, very clear.
it's the optimism's tech stack that's been used.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not really a layer that's belongs from optimism. So like Base is building with the optimism stack. There's other projects that are building a layer two with the optimism stack, right? It's not really we're building on top of optimism. But I do remember like when layer twos became a real thing, optimism, arbitrum were the two big ones.
That's right.
And have been the two big ones, I guess. But they have a totally different positioning. Arbitrum has its own chain and also has side chains. Anyone can create a chain on Arbitrum. Optimism, same. But I don't understand why there's such a difference in value and why there's such a difference in users. Like nobody's actually really using Optimism, while actually people are using Arbitrum. But then builders are building with the Optimism stack. Yeah, confusing.
Yeah, so
Anyway,
when we say building on the stack, that's what I'm curious about is like how does the value accrue for them? Because yeah, I haven't really dove into it like that. Maybe they need to, figure out their tokenomics or something like
maybe
that.
yeah, maybe that's the issue indeed. It's bit maybe like Atom Cosmos,
Yeah.
the Cosmos ecosystem, right? There's so many extremely successful protocols that's been built on top of Atom, but no value goes back to the Atom token. You had Luna, Terra Luna, right? Was built on top of Atom, like was using the Cosmos stack. Went to how many $1 billion valuations before it went to zero? You have Torchain is built on that. Kronos, Crypto.com is built on that. So many different ones that came out. I remember beginning of the year there was this Cosmos season as well. Like when all the Cosmos tokens were pumping, everybody was hyped. This is gonna be the next big thing. Airdrop season, when everybody was staking their Cosmos tokens, everybody discovered Kepler wallet for the first time. So many things actually happened this year.
Yeah,
Holy,
right.
holy shit! I didn't even think of all of this when prepping. It's
Crazy.
literally a live rewind of the year.
Yeah. I thought of another really interesting one was the merger between Ocean Protocol, Fetch AI, and I think there's one more, creating the Super Alliance AI, whatever.
Fetch, Ocean, and Singularity Net.
Yes, yes. Dude, I've never seen anything like that. I don't know if there has really been any. I think there's one other merger maybe that happened this year as well, but like I've
No,
never
this
seen.
is the biggest. This is the coolest and biggest one, I guess. But in my opinion, like just my opinion on those, it's like I've been following Fetch and Ocean very closely for the past 3 years. Like from the first time when I saw Ocean, it was like, oh, cool, data marketplace. That's something interesting, and especially with AI coming up, like Ocean can be interesting. And then now, 3 years later, seeing them merge in a sense. But how I look at these three projects is these are the three top of mind projects if you ask retail about AI. But actually, they're not really that groundbreaking in a sense. Like, for example, Fetch, they claim to be this and that. They have some big names on their website, but what's actually their progress in terms of making AI agents or having it adopted by these bigger corporates, right? It's not really there yet. We're waiting. Like it's just speculation in the head of the retail. Just the same for the other ones, like Ocean. Yes, it's a great use case. Yes, it can be plugged into, but where's the users? Same for Singularity. Like it's in my opinion, is the three big retail ones going together. It's a win for them because you consolidate attention. It's not should I buy Fetch, should I buy Ocean. It's I buy this one token that represents all three. So it's great for attention consolidation. But I think if you think about AI and evolutions in AI, I think there's way more interesting things that happened the past year than this merger.
Okay,
But for crypto
let's
wise,
dive into that. I think that I think that that particular merger, I think when anyone's acquiring any company, in general, you kind of look at how it's going to benefit you when you absorb that company. And I think when you combine data and AI, that is like a really interesting narrative that has potential to do some amazing things. And I think it's pretty clear, like you have data and
Yes.
then you running AI on top of it. But what are some of the more interesting AI use cases that you see?
I mean, like my first two quarters of 2024, I spent at Engine Starter Launchpad. I was CMO there. I was doing kind of everything from the moment like a project got sent in. We do evaluation. We talk to the founders. We see like, do we want to launch them or not? There was a lot of AI coming in, but also a lot of bullshit AI. Like people just putting the word AI into something. At a certain point, I even had this feeling of, damn, another AI agent marketplace or another AI agent thing. Before AI agents actually became a thing, right? Like I was tired of AI agents before AI agents got to mainstream.
Yeah, yeah.
And and like my fail of the year was selling virtuals. I was IDO investor in virtuals 3 years ago. And when virtuals pumped, I think in March or April this year for the first time, from like nothing to maybe 10, 15 cents, I sold my full bag, right? I sold it all. I was like, oh, what the fuck is this? This not making sense. There's so many AI agent stuff happening, selling it, right? And now virtual is the next big thing. It's a $2 billion valuation. It's insane. Like everybody's talking about virtuals. If we want to invest in AI agents, buy virtuals. So I think that's my fail of the year. But that's also the biggest breakthrough, I think, or at least where the attention went, is AI agents. So I feel like this year we went from AI being the meme, as in people want to invest in AI, but there's not really something that actually has value. You could invest in Fetch, Ocean, or the three together, or you have BitTensor, which is like, that's my favorite because it has more of a network effect. But that's still also a sort of a meme. Like you invest in AI, but what's the valuation like? Okay, 5 billion valuation doesn't really make sense for a protocol with barely
It's
any
really
users,
high now, yeah.
right? So
And
it's
then
a
also
meme.
one other would be like the GPU compute stuff, like Render and Akash and some of these as well.
The point that I wanted to make was that investing in AI crypto has been a meme until AI agents actually came out. Like you couldn't really invest in much AI crypto that really was significant of value. You could buy BitTensor because it was the only option to actually invest in something AI that sounds like an Ethereum for AI, right? Until and then like you had the AI meme, and then suddenly you have the meme coins. The meme coins really becoming a thing, and then you have this GOAT, Terminal of Truth, started to post like an AI posting about things, and then people finding the memes in there. That's like then suddenly that becomes a meme coin. So we go from AI meme to an AI posting a word that becomes a meme coin to an AI agent that has their own coin, and that's where we are now. Like AI agents that can perform certain tasks, then that agent get tokenized, and then users can invest in that agent because they think, oh, that agent is gonna get popular because it's saying cool stuff, or it's actually trading things, or it actually has a use case. Like now it's people speculating on agents, and I guess that's where we are now. And I guess what's next is actually these agents being implemented and actually creating value and paying each other in a sense. So you create an agent, I create an agent. My agent uses your agent, so I pay you. My agent pays you, and the other way around. And that's gonna become an agent economy, and that's when actual value starts potentially being created by agents. But then we went from AI as a meme to AI as actual value creation. I think that's what happened this year. I remember trying to make like realize this today. 2023, I wanted to start a newsletter called Altcoin Analyst, and I prompt engineered like a few great prompts to have ChatGPT help me analyzing altcoins. And I still have this Notion table with 100 potential altcoins that I liked back then, that I sorted out, that I researched. And I have a 3 A4 pages per altcoin summary, right?
Wow.
Just by like using ChatGPT, finding things, training like fine tuning the prompt. But that was early 23. I tried to put that into a web page where I could just copy paste a name and I get it all. Like that's actually also an agent. But now Now we just call it agents, right? But it's nothing more than someone, like an agent is nothing more than someone getting a prompt into an AI and then having the AI execute that prompt with a little thing tweaked. Like it's just the same as these ChatGPT wrappers,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
then
exactly.
plug it into a Twitter account so I can post, right?
Yeah, that's why I don't really know if there's the long-term value there. I guess when you're saying like AI agents paying AI agents, that is like a pretty interesting thing. But like, is that going to be more value than this database stuff? And then when we're talking about this merger, I think there's still a lot of potential with that use case, like real long-term value, like a potential. Whereas I don't know if this is like a fad or if there's long-term potential here. Maybe there is when we start talking about paying each other, but like that's where I'm at right now. I don't know if it's just a fad.
Where we at right now, it's a meme, right? It's a meme. You buy this token of this agent that does market research that pretends to be a VC, right? Like, and you think that it's gonna make money. I buy the meme because I think that's gonna make money, and over the next few months, I think there's more people that's gonna see that value and that it's gonna probably outperform. Like, that's the thought process. I think it's gonna grab more attention, therefore I buy. That's how I guess meme coin traders think anyway. Like,
Yeah,
I
that's
think
true.
I think it's gonna get more attention, so I buy. It's just if this then that, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I guess when we talk about our investing theses later, there's definitely a place for that in the portfolio. But then there's also like the long-term plays, which is definitely like the significant part of the portfolio.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But like that part of the AI slash memes is a meme. But
Yeah.
then when we start thinking about AI agents and where I think AI agents are going to go and how fast we've seen AI agents evolve over the past few months, I think Deepin networks are going to use agents. Like, there's going to be agents crawling over every fucking Deepin network. Sorry for the words. There's agents crawling on every Deepin network and reporting on data, reporting on problems, reporting on anything. Like training an agent on security and having that agent being ran 24/7 on your Deepin network, it's perfect because it's going to report if there's a vulnerability. If there's an agent that does reporting every day, every hour, great. Like it's gonna run on that network. It's gonna create reports every 10 minutes, maybe even, and you have a full reporting. It doesn't have to be an agent that creates value. It can be an internal agent that creates value internally by having these reports, having these analytics, having these like Kualu, for example, right? You have your network set up, you have all the data that's coming in. If we have an agent that can study that data and study the current news, and we spin up a Twitter page, we can have an agent tweet about the telecom sector and about the data that we collect, right? Have the agent combine the two, and boom, you have a marketing channel. So there's so many valuable options with these agents. Now that the tech starts improving, implementation gets easier, and all the data that people have been collecting for the past 12 years starts to get valuable because it's not a human that gotta process it to then give it to a social media guy, right? To
Cuts a
who
lot of
has to
stuff.
understand it then? It's like 5 steps of people who have to understand something from a different department.
Exactly.
Now it's just you plug in the agent and you have a marketing channel that is informed by the tech itself. So you skip all the people in between. And that's where I think the value is going to come. And that's what I think that's going to get exciting. And probably every project is going to have their own agent tweeting about themselves.
Yeah. No, I love that. So sure. The internal factor is definitely has a lot of potential, or it's even you even see it now. We tried one out actually at IoTex, and the stuff it was tweeting about was actually legit. It was really good. And we have another AI agent called Bino AI, which is actually doing quite a good job as well. But I think it could go to the next level where you have different deep like one Deepin project or even Deepin scan. It could be like a Deepin scan agent that's looking at all the data from all these different Deepins, and then you have some kind of an AI agent for that, or it could be tweeting out about what are the latest, what are the most interesting data points that we're pulling from Deep and Scan right now. Something like that could be really interesting.
Like if I could go to Deepin scan right now and I was like, okay, I want to invest in something Deepin that earns me passive income. What should I buy? I have $50 budget, and then like I go to Deepin scan, I ask, hey, I have $50. What can I buy for $50 that gives me passive income through Deepin? And then it gives you a list of like this, and this. This one has the highest potential on breaking even. Okay, I'll buy that one, right?
Yeah, there you
And
go.
that's the agent. It's
Yeah.
not much harder than that, right? It's the few metrics that the agent got to compare. It's a question that's been asked, and just connecting the dots, and that's what AI is very good at, connecting the
Yeah.
dots.
Could be really interesting. Yeah. Make it happen.
Yeah, make it happen.
Yeah.
You're head of product.
Do you foresee more of these mergers?
Do I think there's gonna be happening more of these mergers? Yes. Thanks to Trump being president, I think this is suddenly an option. And in combination with the sentiment in Singapore, where I felt like there was a lot of excitement, but there's also a lot of founders that have never found product market fit or traction. Like, these founders might have found a way out now. They never had a way out before. These founders were all about, like, they've been building for 3 years. They raised way too high valuations. Their token is down 99%. They have an angry community because they're all invested. They have never found product market fit. They know their product is never going to find product market fit, but they cannot get out because if they leave the project, they lose their credibility, they lose their social score, right? So this whole merger thing, the social...
It's true, man. It's fully
Yeah,
true.
right?
Credibility in social score, it's a big factor, right?
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Like, if you rug once, try to build another project. And I think this potential of new mergers and acquisitions, that like this window opened up now thanks to Trump becoming president and regulations probably smoothing up. I think these founders that have actually built something, like, you have to have built something that's useful, or you have to have acquired some licenses or whatever, right? Like,
Or
you have to
maybe
have
it's just a bunch of users or something like that,
something value, or
potentially.
users, right? Like, that's actually something of value that you then can offer to these projects that might need that. Like, there's just an example. You're building a layer one and you want to have high transaction speed, and there is a launchpad on whatever other chain that has no attraction, no launches anymore, but they have the tech, and it's a random idea of like a tap game launchpad. Like, you combine the
Yeah.
two, tapping, and then like you say, okay, I want to have a high transactions per second on my chain. I want to test this out. I'm just gonna buy that launchpad without any traction. We do one launch, a lot of people come and tap. We see how many transactions per second that brings to our chain, right? Like, chains can really start thinking about specific use cases to get to buy a certain product. They're probably distressed. They're probably super cheap. They're probably founders want to get out. Like, they want to get rid of this asset. They don't want to have anything to do with it anymore. So they just, like, I think probably this is gonna be something that is gonna happen more in the
Yeah.
next year than in the past 3 years. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Like,
raise a great point there. Is like people just trying to get out of, this project they've been locked in for a while. And I do think there could be potential, one, acquiring within Web3, but also more acquiring within Web2 once this stuff is just like more regulated and there's actually some clarity around that. I think it could definitely go both ways, which is going to be super exciting.
yes. For now, the mergers and acquisitions that you actually see happening is those with certain licenses. So you see, for example, exchanges buying specific licenses so they can operate in these countries. Like, that's the most valuable things that are currently being or happening on that front.
I guess if we look at it from the Web2 side, and it's probably going to be something similar. It's like, okay, there's all these acquisitions. Maybe now there's going to be like, maybe right now for a specific use case, there's like 10 stable coins. Maybe in the future there'll just be like a couple stable coins, something like that. There's definitely advantages there, but then I guess there's also the detriment there, which is maybe that creates monopolies, which could be problematic. But I definitely don't think we're there yet. I think actually acquisitions for now is like a good thing, just because there's just so much. Like, for example, layer twos, like there's just too many out there. So if there is some consolidation there between some of these, that could be really interesting and a
I
good
think
thing. I
that's what
think
bear
for us.
markets are for.
Yeah. There you go. True.
No, you're right, and that's one of the things that I've been telling some people. Like, I've always been a Launchpad guy until I wasn't anymore a month ago. Like, I kind of left the Launchpad space. I'm still kind of involved, but I didn't want to be that Launchpad guy anymore. I've always been saying, like, there should be one party with a lot of money that just rolls up all the Launchpads in the space into one and become the one big Launchpad. Like, if Binance would just say, okay, we have what's the market cap of all the Launchpads combined? Like, it's maybe 100 million, 120 million, 150 million if you want to have the top seven. Or like, maybe you skip the first and the second. Like, then suddenly you have a monopoly on Launchpads. You have all those users. That's like 250,000 plus DGen wallets.
Crazy.
That on itself, you can do quite a lot with. But like, yeah. It's just an idea that I ever had. Like, someone should do this. I'm not gonna do this. I also don't know how this is gonna lead to success, but I don't know why this is not done.
Yeah, fair. No, I get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying. But then, maybe because of that monopolistic factor, they could start taking advantage in that situation. So maybe in some way it could be detriment. But then you have other projects slide in, and then it balances itself
Yes.
out. I think that's just free market in crypto, free market capitalism type of thing. As long as there's no kind of third parties getting involved, I think this is a good thing, and it's one of the advantages of crypto, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and then again, like that model is probably gonna get disrupted as well. Like you have suddenly have the big one with people always looking for the next small thing to
Exactly.
be early
Yeah,
in, right? Like that's the whole thing in crypto. If you're not early, you're not gonna make it.
exactly.
So then, like this year, I think, and I only learned about this 2 or 3 weeks ago. There's two new launch pads. Like all the other launch pads are kinda old school, old stuff, and now you have Legion and Echo. Have you heard of those?
I have not.
You have not? I think that's
No.
gonna be the new launch pads. Like these two are probably gonna be the new ICO, IDO places, like Legion and Echo. And one of them is built by Kobe, KOL Kobe, and the other
Okay.
one I have no idea.
Okay.
But they're taking a bit of a different approach, a bit more of like they have, for example, I signed up for Legion. They have this onboarding where you have your social score. So you link your Twitter account, you see how influential you are. Then you have your GitHub account linked, so you see how much of a dev you are. And then you have the third metric, which is how much value you bring as an investor. So that means like if you invest, what can you bring to them? Can you bring visibility? Can you bring promotion? Can you bring introductions? Whatever. And then you get a score, and based on that score, you get allocations. So it changes the model where originally you went from stake a lot of tokens to get access or whatever to actually providing value. And I think that's great. I think that's great because in my opinion, the Launchpad model has been broken. Everybody was looking for how to solve it, but there is this issue of way too high valuations, toxic community, and teams not knowing what the fuck they're doing. Like these three combinations made the Launchpad model just not work. Like with the high valuations, you had these high FDV, low flow tokens. Like it's the new standard for the past 3 years, right? My job wasn't being CMO anymore. My job was trying to convince founders that their valuation didn't make sense and that the community is not gonna make any money out of this. So this whole Launchpad story that they have in their head to raise some money is actually gonna turn into toxicity because all the community members that invest in your token at this valuation will lose money. And the only reason you should use Launchpads is because this is community onboarding who are financially invested. So it's more than just emotionally, like it's you're financially, so you're emotionally. So that means you're deeper invested. They chose to invest in you, make them money, and they will be forever be talking about you. If you make them lose money, you're not gonna have any community anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only reason projects should use Launchpads. But 9 out of 10 founders I talked to saw Launchpads as, oh yeah, this is the last part of our race before the token goes live.
Yeah,
And
and
we're
it's
gonna
already
get
like super inflated at that point.
exactly like it doesn't make sense to launch a token at a 30 million valuation if you don't even have an MVP, right? I remember 3 years ago in 2021 we launched tokens at 1 mil FDV or less. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Then you have these 100x's out of the gate, right? And that leads me to the second point, toxic community. All these users in 2021 that got used to making so many X's straight out of the gate, but they all forgot to sell. I'm one of them. I forgot to sell. I didn't know the game back then. I saw all
Yeah.
these 100x's. I was like, okay, I put in $500 here and it turns into 25K. And they're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, it can go higher, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I take my initial out, $50.
Yeah. Bro, I never sell. I'm like so bad with that. I need to learn.
Exactly. So that's like all of these IDO investors label themselves now as IDO investors. Like I wasn't an IDO investor. I've lived it all. I did 100 IDOs, this and that, but I never sold. Now, throughout the bear market, I learned I'm gonna stay an IDO investor. I'm gonna learn from my mistakes, and I'm gonna sell now. Like this is my thing. This is my game for the next cycle. I'm gonna be an IDO investor. I'm gonna double down on launch pads, and I'm gonna sell it all straight out of the gate. Right? That's the thought process. And then the new cycle starts, and they're all positioned, and they're all well, and then suddenly the valuations are 10x higher. So you lose 10x potential, right? And then also the liquidity is much lower in the system. There's much less liquidity to actually buy your tokens on the open market. And there's much less interest because all the attention is on memes. So you have this group of people that things they learned out of their mistakes, that are expecting high returns, that are expecting so many things from these launchpads to give, right? Like they're expecting to just put in $100, take out 1,000, next one, right? That's what they expect. But they have not been getting that for the whole year, and maybe even on their launchpad tokens that they invested in, locked up, they're getting burned because the price is going down. And I think that's the issue of launchpads. Like they cannot attract new users because the new users go to either new launchpads or meme coins. They cannot give these returns that their communities are expecting because these returns are not realistic anymore because of those valuations and because of liquidity. And they're also not innovating. They're not bringing new models to the market. They're not bringing anything new to the market. They're just redoing the same old playbook. So I guess that's also the reason why I decided to quit launchpads and why I'm bearish on low float, high FDV tokens in general.
That totally
Yeah,
makes sense. Yeah. Just a
that's a long
question
rant.
from a new, like, let's say a new project's coming in. Would you recommend they use the Launchpad and take the other approach, or just like, do you recommend they just not go the Launchpad approach at all?
I would recommend Launchpad, but I would be very selective which Launchpad to use. I would use Launchpads for, like I say, for the final push of awareness, for getting a small part of community financially involved invested, and for legitimate, like being legit. But be very picky on which Launchpad. Also, only small allocations per Launchpad and maximum 3 Launchpads. So what you see a lot of projects do is like, okay, we do 1.5 mil public round. After already raising 5 mil plus in the privates at a 60 mil valuation, like I'm just random numbers, right? But if you raise 5K per launchpad, that's way too much. Like, and yeah, maybe like, okay, if you pick exclusive launchpads, like, okay, not everybody's gonna get in, but yeah, everybody's gonna get in if you're gonna do a 500K and per launchpad, right? And then even then, like the tickets per person is gonna be so big that you're gonna have a lot of sell pressure out of the gates. Like, if I would recommend launchpads, I would say not more than 750 in total, 250 per launchpad max, and maybe even smaller. Or put a ticket, like a small ticket, onto a liquidity bootstrapping protocol like Fjord, where you do like this Dutch auction where the price goes down, and depending on how, like literally pump of fun style, right? The opposite of pump of fun. Like price goes down, and if people buy, the price stays up a bit more, and like goes down until it finds a fair value.
Okay, okay.
Like, but yeah, in my opinion, the only real reason to use launchpads is for that the final push of marketing and having a invested community. But you can almost expect that launchpad investors will dump. So all the tokens you sell on launchpads are tokens that probably gonna end up on the open market again.
Got you. Okay.
And that's, yeah. If you know that 5% is circulating and 95% is more to come, I think people got smarter by losing a lot throughout the bear market. I'm speaking out of my own my own perspective. People learned what is a low float high FDV, and yeah, it's not gonna make it. These projects are not gonna make it. It's interesting in the bear market. I'll buy those tokens if they're fully unlocked. Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, anyways, you touched on something which was leaving Launchpads and focusing on something else. I don't know if we talked about this yet. I think that we talked before the call, but Kualu.
Okay.
Yeah, so congratulations on starting to do some work with Kualu.
Thank
I
you.
think it has so much potential. Love to dive into that if you're ready to do that now. I think it.
It's actually a funny story. I had my first ever call with Kualu the day that I signed my contract at Engine Starter Launchpad. So I signed around like probably 1 p.m. my contract that I was gonna start. It was like March this year, and 2 hours later I had a call with Keith and Nick. So I was like, "Sorry guys, just signed a new contract. I'm gonna start as this, but yeah, tell me whatever you're building, right?" So I have been following them since March. Yeah, since March this year, slowly, and then I saw them for the first time in Singapore right before meeting you, and then in Bangkok, and yeah, I think in Singapore, like you know Sasha from Arcane Adventures. very good friend as
Uh,
well, great guy.
I know the name. I haven't met him personally yet.
Yeah, so he is an advisor of Kualu, and he took me apart in Singapore. He's like, Rik, maybe you should consider again, right? Like this and that, interesting potential. And I was like, okay, interesting. I'm kind of tired of this Launchpad game. I know, like, I'm tired of it. It's toxic community, toxic other Launchpads to work with. Like, okay, I'll consider it. And then we had this whole Solana happening in Thailand, which was great. And I was like, made me realize, like, okay, I'm just too deep into this Launchpad thing, but there's so many other things happening that's so exciting. And yeah, then like Kualu happened, right? Like it was great that they were looking for someone with marketing and Web3 knowledge. And Kualu itself, it's a great idea, it's a great product. They have a great vision, but they were missing a Web3 head, like someone who understands what's necessary to onboard Web3 users and a bit of a go-to-market strategy. So that's that's when I came in. And about a week or two ago, I went to their office in Bangkok, was with the team for a week. We had like a lot of late night brainstorm sessions, a lot of beers as well together, etc., etc. But those are the best nights. And yeah, things went really fast. Like I got a fast track into learning about what they're doing, a fast track in the vision. And yeah, we are ready to make the internet better together. And that's what Kualu is about. Like Kualu is a Deepin project that is building a decentralized hardware node network all over the world. They need quite a lot of nodes per country, but not too many to make it inachievable. And once that is out, there's so many potential in just using the data from that network to help all types of customers. This could be governments, could be telcos, could be Airbnb or Amazon or whoever, right? It could be Google Maps. There's so many potential once the data is there, but we need to use Web3 and Deepin to get those devices distributed, to get the people that plug these devices in rewarded. And once that's done, yeah, all we got to do is onboard revenue. Yeah, it's exciting to be part of Deepin. And one of the key things that convinced me to get into Deepin was I've always been, for the past 3-4 years in crypto, I've been doing degen marketing. It's like doing marketing to people that, like, you just know that these, like, you know that you're looking for people who don't really know what they're doing. After all, that's degen marketing, right? If you as a person know that there's so many inflation of a token coming, but you're still doing marketing, hoping that the people who get the message will buy a token, like, that was like conflicting with my ethics at a certain point. And then when I heard Kualu, it's like, this is not a crypto project. This is a tech startup.
Yeah.
This is a tech startup leveraging crypto, leveraging crypto tech, and leveraging crypto excitement, community, and all of that. Like it leverages the best things of crypto to get these tech startup off the ground and to keep going, right? And that's I think what pulled me over the line to start with Kualu. It's like I can finally start doing some real marketing. I can finally start doing some real stuff and not just doing a Galaxy campaign copy paste, you know?
Bro, yeah, these are real businesses that are being built in Deepin, and that's what I get so excited about. Like literally, it's brought me to Washington D.C. where I can shake hands with Tim Scott, Bill Haggerty, Wally Nichols, all these people left and right, the senators and congressmen of the USA and different countries as well. And the reason is because this is real stuff that we're building. We're not going there talking about meme coins. If they talk about meme coins, they're gonna laugh in your face. Like we're talking about real businesses that are actually helping real people, just like you guys with fixing the internet, just like GeoNet with centimeter accurate geolocation, which is in turn helping mass farming, which is lowering the price of food, which is one of the number one things that a senator should care about and a congressman should care about is like let's make things cheaper for our and at the and also actually getting money to the users through Deepin is an amazing thing, passive income
Question
every
here.
single day.
Question on the GeoNet. How do you transition that message from we are building a deepened network collecting this data to making those people understand what's the value of that data? That's an important bridge to make. But
Yeah.
how?
And so they knew nothing. They didn't know what Deepin was. All they knew was, like I said before, stable coins through this Fit 21 bill. That's basically all they know. And then they know about these scams and meme coins and stuff like that. So what all I need to do is say, did you know that there's this company that is able to get centimeter accurate geolocation, which lowers the prices of food in your state? And as soon as you mention something like that, it's like directly what is the benefit to your constituents? It's very, very simple, and they're completely on board and all ears are perked and everything like that. And then you can, I don't even really get too much into the tech. I'm just, that's all. As long as you mention the use case, at that point, you kind of have their attention. And then you can just kind of talk a little bit about the company.
Starting with the use case.
Yeah,
That's good.
100%. 100%. I don't even talk about tech basically at all. I just say, they're using crypto to make it happen. That's it.
Hmm. Oh, that's a good one.
100%. But yeah, just really quickly back to Kualu. I just want to say one of my biggest things when I'm looking for a company to invest in, and I think a lot of VCs and etc. out there, is what is the team? And I think you guys have such an amazing team there that has real like Web2 experience. They have real use cases or real case studies of actually making a difference in some different countries. So I think, leading with that is incredible. I think that'd be the first thing I mentioned. Like, look, we fixed the internet in this country. And then the other thing,
I think in Angola, for example, they did a project. Keith went to Angola a few weeks ago, and with 20 of these devices that we want to distribute all over the world, 20 in Angola, they found the problem for the whole country. Like they fixed the whole country with just placing 20 of those nodes. Imagine those nodes are distributed 200 nodes per country, right? Like literally we can have an AI agent crawling the data, literally pushing out reports, and it can be sent out everywhere, and all countries can just improve their internet. Like that's how easy it is in a sense once it's distributed. Sorry for interrupting. Keep going.
no, exactly, yeah. So number one thing is team. Number two, like case studies, have they proven it out? And I think you guys have 100% done that. And then, does it have potential? Does it have unicorn potential? And I think you guys definitely have unicorn potential. Like fixing the internet is a big enough problem, whereas some of these other companies are trying to solve some niche stuff. Like there's definitely potential there, but is it billion-dollar potential? No. So I'd rather put my money or where that billion-dollar potential is. So the combination of those three, I think, makes Kualu a super interesting use case. And for my investment thesis, it completely jives with the where I want my long-term portfolio to look like is a company like Kualu. So I think there's like incredible potential there, and I think you're part of an amazing company that I hope all the best, and we'll be working closely together with IoTex as well and making sure it's as successful as possible.
Hope so too. It's gonna be an exciting year. It's gonna be exciting. That's 2 weeks in now. Let's see. Let's see where we are a year from now. Christmas next year.
Yeah,
Should be
100%.
should be at $1 billion market cap, right? Not
Let's
financial
do it.
advice.
Kualu to the moon.
Cheers to that.
Cheers.
What's the other happenings in 2024? We have Deepin evolution. We have attention economy. We have tokenomics. We discussed. We have major events like Token 2049 Breakpoint, which we tapped on a little bit as well. Solana, we tapped on as well. New KOLs, that's one I wanted to discuss as well. That's what I find interesting. Coming from like last cycle was my really first cycle, and Ivan on Tech is actually the one guy that made a big difference in my life. You know Ivan on Tech? Ivan?
I've never met
Yeah.
him.
Yeah. So I met him in Singapore, but I got into crypto only in January 21. Like I was like I figured out crypto and I bought my first token that I ever bought was Helium. I
Oh
bought
wow.
$80 of Helium. That was my first ever crypto buy. I still remember that. In January 21 at like $2. But then like I found myself researching crypto way more than my freelance job, than actually spending time and effort in my freelance job. So in March I realized like maybe I should just get into this crypto thing. And Ivan on Tech mentioned Paid Network. But back then, like I think they just launched Token, and he was a KOL for them. So I was influenced by an influencer, and I went to do my research on Paid Network, and I added the CMO on LinkedIn. And 2 days later, she posts like, "I'm looking for a team member in marketing manager." I'm like, "Okay, let's do it. Let's try this." Right? And Paid Network was actually the second real launchpad after Polka Starter. So we had Polka Starter last cycle, and it was paid. And then it was a long while before there came any other launchpad in the space. So all thanks to Ivan on Tech mentioning Paid Network, that I went to do my research, that I went to add the CMO, that I went to join the team, that I went to become head of marketing and community for 11 months straight, launching 75 projects in 11 months. 75 tokens. So that was like an insane experience, all sort of to thank to Ivan on Tech. But to get back to my point, it's interesting to see the evolution of KOLs. Like back then it was Ivan, it was Crypto Banter, was a big one as well. It's still around. I learned about that because our CEO was like a regular guest. Like you had Ivan, you had Crypto Banter, you had BitBoy, right? That had this big fall throughout the bear market. You had Altcoin Boss. There's a few of those. But then this cycle, you have this new wave of KOLs. You have the old ones. And I feel like a lot of people get burned by following them blindly. Like I got burned by following some things they mentioned as well. So you start creating this hate in your head against these channels and you're not following them anymore. You don't trust them anymore. Trust is gone. So they're not really an opinion leader to me anymore. Right? But then there's new things that come up. There's new interesting parts of the crypto economy, like meme coins. And then you have new KOLs popping up. And one or two of them are Ansem and Murat. Right? Ansem, early on memes, early on Whiff, early on Sol, always had conviction. And then Murat with his meme coin thesis end of Q3, beginning of Q4, that suddenly like became the next big guru. I just find it interesting to think about how these waves of KOLs come and go, and which ones are here to stay, which ones manage to stay, but also which ones just manage to become peak hype and are gone within 3 weeks. Like there's a very interesting comparison between those two groups, and I'm kind of interested like how that some manage it and how some manage it well and some really don't manage it well. Like which are the key KOLs that are in your head for the past year? Like for me, Ansem is probably the
Ansem. Ansem for sure is probably number one for me. And then there's a few Deepin ones. One named Rik and Aaron, which is a pretty cool guy. Yeah. I wouldn't say I followed like too many KOLs, but Ansem is definitely like the one for sure. I always make sure to focus on. And I have a question that I want to throw back at you as well is, do you foresee AI agents eventually becoming some of these KOLs and having some KOL AI agents that are actually worth following? Um, just talking, bringing the previous conversation back into this one.
Yes, we already see that. We already see projects putting in efforts to be seen by AI agents so that those AI agents tweet about them. So yes, I 100% foresee AI agent KOLs. And on top of that, I think that's an interesting monetization model for the creators of these KOLs, that they can monetize for featured projects being mentioned, right? So it's two ways. The project pays with engagement to hopefully get engagement back by the KOL, and the project pays with money to be featured. I think that's two potential ways that we can go with AI agent KOLs. There's probably many other ways, but that's the two main ones that I see and that I already see happening.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, anything you wanted to do to wrap up that discussion on KOLs?
On the KOLs, yeah, I find it interesting because like I never heard of Ansem before until like in the beginning of the year, I guess, or like even halfway, and suddenly that was the big thing. And Ansem is the meme coin guru, right? And then like now the last few weeks, months, like it's not anymore that when Ansem is on a stream, the token that he mentions goes 10x. Like there's been points in time, like a few months ago, literally Ansem goes on a stream and he sees, like he mentions a token and it goes 10, 20, 50x, right?
Yeah.
That was the shit that was happening. Like that's not really happening anymore. Now, I'm also like, I got more involved in the Solana ecosystem. I have met Ansem. He's just a normal guy, right? It's funny how people can create a story in their head about people they met online but never really met in real life. And everybody has these stories about people. I think this is something very general that's happening in the space as well. People love to compare themselves in one way or another. People love to compare portfolio size, for example. People love to compare so many things and then start making that story in their own head, which is very dangerous. Because that's, if I think back, I think that's the reason that I never took profit, because I was comparing myself with other people that I was talking to a lot less cycle. And I was like, oh, I think this guy has this much. And so I feel like I don't have a lot, you know? And comparison is really bad. Like never compare, but I don't even know how this is related to the KOL point anymore. But yeah, like people just create stories in their head. They make these people bigger than they think. They think like this gurus and this and that, but it's actually just people that played it very smart, that were right, and that were putting themselves out there. Because I'm pretty sure there's 10, 50, 100 more anthems. They just never tweeted, right?
Yeah. And there's also the way he tweets as well. Like there's an attention grabbing aspect of it. So it's not just like, okay, he's right every time. It's like an attention grabbing aspect. So I think the combination of those two, you can become a KOL without even being right all the time, you know? You can, but definitely there's probably somewhat of a mix of those two that makes a KOL successful, I think. And then once they're successful, then these people start throwing money at them and they start pushing like stuff that is not, you know, not great. It can be problematic.
Like the point you make is very great. Like I've been hanging out with quite a lot of KOLs the past few months, and one thing I realize is sometimes they literally just like they don't post their own opinions. They post what they think is gonna get most engagement. And Twitter has this fun feature right now when you press on the three buttons on the right hand corner and you click on it and you say post photo, and you can literally repost any screenshot with your own caption. So if these KOL sort of photo being posted with low engagement and they think, oh, I can do a better caption, they just repost it with whatever gets most engagement. Because every 2 weeks, Twitter pays out. And if you get a few million views, you get a few $1,000, right? So they're incentivized to just post for engagement. They're not incentivized to post their thoughts. They're not incentivized to post value. Twitter incentivizes engagement.
That's true.
And that's why Ansem posts that he likes chicken thighs.
Yeah, there you go.
It's not because boneless chicken thighs is a meme coin right now. No, maybe it is after the tweet. Like peak hype. It could have become a meme coin within a minute. But yeah.
Yeah, maybe there's some, I don't know how to solve that, to be honest. I think yeah, we'll just have to wait and see how it develops, but hopefully the free market and we'll somehow spin off something that makes sense for the users. Maybe it's, you know, I don't know if it's copy trading or what. Like, are you into copy trading at all?
I'm not at all. No.
Yeah, I'm not at this
I
point either.
I believe that the best traders trade in the shadows. So the best traders will not put an option to copy trade them in the first place. So no, I don't believe in that. I would dare to test out an AI trader automation or whatever, like test my own stuff. I've not done that, but copy trading.
Yeah, I think it's good for getting ideas the same way that looking at these KOLs is worth doing just to get some ideas. But at the end of the day, you should stick to what your principles are and what you believe in, I think, and come up with your own investment thesis and then make decisions based off of that.
That's my biggest learning of the past year as well, I think. Coming up with your own thesis, trusting your own thesis, stay with your own thesis, and execute on your own thesis. You can have the best ideas in the world, you can have the best analysis in the world, but if you don't execute, you're not going to win. And that's the mistake I made in the beginning of the year. I was aware of everything. I was aware of, like, I was on top of every fucking thing. I just never really put my money on the line. And that's how I missed out on, like, I have this Telegram chat where I posted all my thoughts. Like, there's
Yeah.
nobody in there. It's private. Like, there's maybe 10 people that can read my thoughts there. If you want to get in, I'll send you the link. But like,
Sounds-
I think like a few months ago, I posted like when Sei versus Sui and Sol, when Sui versus Sol was bottoming, right? I posted, is Sui the new Sol? Instead of actually swapping half of my Sol back to Sui, I just stayed mostly all into Sol, never buying any Sui, but I've been following Sui for a year, right? I've been posting about Sui for a year, but I never really bought. And then you see it doing a 5x while your Sol back is just sideways. And it's like, you can have such great ideas, you can have the best analysis, but if you don't act, you're only gonna be more stressed. Like, it's all waste of time. It's all a fucking waste of time. And that makes me also think like maybe this rule of buy first, research later is actually a better way to do it than me putting in so much time and effort, but then never really doing it. So yeah, like I feel like the past 2 years have been big learning years in terms of reflection on decisions, but also investing and like putting my money, also diversifying. Like I bought my first apartment. So like there's a lot of things that happened this year, but I think I could have done much better choices in certain ways if I just followed my original plan.
Yeah. I think it's great. It's great. Most important things to learn, and I definitely not an expert either. I think it's just taking your learnings and continue to roll them over, and that's definitely a big thing for 2025. Is take all these learnings and, like you said, execute.
Talking about 2025, what's the plan there?
Yeah, so I would say Deepin's gonna continue to grow, and I'm really excited about that. So gonna continue pushing on the IoTech side, trying to make all these Deepins as successful as possible. And I think big travel circuit this year. Lots happening, Hong Kong, Toronto actually in April, which I highly recommend you come out to for consensus here.
Keith actually messaged me about Hong Kong today. He asked if I would be in Asia around that time. And I said, like, what? Consensus Hong Kong? I thought it was going to be in Toronto. Aaron said it's in Toronto. But
There's
then
two. Yeah,
I Googled and I saw there's two.
yeah, yeah. Before it was in Texas, and then they somehow, for some reason, split it into two, which is fantastic.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I'm not sure about Hong Kong. I might do Toronto, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
Never say never. Yeah. No, I would love to double down on real life experiences as well. Like, especially because we know this is the last year, and then it's gonna be probably 2 years of silence again that we're gonna have to find a new industry to keep ourselves busy.
Seriously, like in the bear markets, honestly, we did so much building and still went to these conferences and still like kept pushing. I definitely think that the next few years are very, very bright, especially for Deepin, just because we're actually building real businesses, and I definitely anticipate some real revenue coming in, like you see with all these Deepins. Like if you go and look at some of the charts of the revenue for some of these companies, like Hivemapper, Glow, you look at GeoNet, they're making millions and millions of dollars of revenue per year now. So this is like regardless of whether the market is up or the market is down, these tokens are being burnt and bought and burnt. So I just think the future is so bright for the Deepin sector because of that.
I love that, and that's also the reason that I chose for Kualu. Because like if you just think about it and compare this, like let's say you have your token that has a certain value. I think the public valuation of Kualu would be like 30 mil, 35 mil, right? But then if you think of potential revenues, like, and I'm talking in 5 years from now, 3 to 5 years, like throughout and after the bear market, right? If we keep building, if we keep onboarding revenues, then you get to a point where suddenly, if you have government clients and telcos, 30 million revenue is not that much. And if you have this tokenomics where 10% of your revenue goes into the token, gets distributed, you're literally buying back 10% of the total supply per year, right? And that's what excites me, because these Web 2 revenues are unseen in Web 3 yet. And Web Deepin can be this vehicle to bring Web 2 revenues into Web 3 and actually putting value into the ecosystem, except instead of extracting like a Pum.Fund does. Like
Exactly.
Pum.Fund cashed out $1 billion themselves as a how many person team, right? That's the total, that's the opposite. You have value extraction, as in consumer apps that are building for the consumer to try to extract as much value as they can. And then you have Deepin, which is value creation for the industry, because you bridge Web 2 to Web 3. And that's what I love about it.
Exactly. No, 100% on board with that. I'm just going to really quickly touch on my opinion article that I wrote that's going to be in Cointelegraph in a week. It's effectively about that. It's about the bridge between Web 2 and Web 3 being Deepin, at least one of the bridges, and for that exact purpose, which is bringing revenue from Web 2 to Web 3. But regulations get really interesting there. So just because some of these Deepins, they're not really upfront about how much token they're burning, or if they're even burning any tokens at all, or like how it's getting, or just generally how the revenue is being accrued back to the user. So I think it's really important, whether it's regulations or not. I think it just probably doesn't really need to be regulated that way, but there is an opinion that it could be. I just think that the community should demand it, which is like, I don't want to invest in you for not being transparent. I think that's super important. So that's why I love GeoNet so much, because they're by far the most transparent Deepin out there. And generally the article is about, okay, it's important that projects are transparent. And I think from a community standpoint, from a regulator standpoint, they should be talking about how much revenue is actually being burnt, because on the Web 2 side, you have these publicly traded companies which have to be upfront. Okay, how much revenue I'm earning? What are my profits? Yeah, again, especially publicly traded companies. And then on Web 3 side, you have a lot of these revenues being shown on chain. Whereas in Deepin, some of them don't show them on chain, and some of them do show them on chain. And some of this, because it's coming from Web 2 side, it's just kind of in the ether, it feels like. So yeah, important to be upfront. I think that those are the companies. Part of my investment thesis as well is specifically investing in those projects, and part of what I'm trying to do is raise more awareness as well, and making it known that okay, if you're not being transparent as a Deepin community, we're gonna call it out.
Yeah. Now that's a great point. Like transparency is key, I think, and that's one of the vision. Like that's the whole thing in Web3 in itself. Like if you're not transparent, you're probably not going to be trusted. And if you're not going to be trusted, you're not going to build a community. And if you're not going to build a community, you're not going to make it. Because community is business in Web3. Like no community is no business.
Yeah, maybe in the bull markets, people just throw money at anything, but like if we're talking about being real, building real businesses, then it's so important.
So to finish off, there's two things I wanna think about, discuss. Let's say the first one is investment thesis. How are you playing this cycle and the next year?
So 50% of my portfolio was strictly on long term, and then obviously a good amount of IoTechs as well, and then 20% is more towards just like the short term kind of meme stuff. So a lot of that is just kind of I have this group that I'm in, sending stuff ideas back and forth, and then kind of jumping into anything that we see there. One actually that has been happening a lot recently is the IoTechs memes have actually been kind of pumping quite a bit as well, which is awesome because it's the first time we've had this kind of meme culture on IoTech. So jumping into some of these, jumping into some stuff on Solana, and just doing it as a unit with my friends because it's fun.
Are these IoTech memes also going to zero as fast as Solana ones?
Some of them definitely come back down to earth, but honestly, not too bad because if you're early enough to these things, then it's actually not too bad. So it's actually been a really fun thing to do, and it's just fun to be a part of that, have that culture on our chain too.
Okay, nice. And you say like you have 50% long term, and then 50% to play around with, or 20% to play around with.
Just 20% to play around with. There's like basically, I would say 80% is between IoTechs and then some of the other long-term stuff.
But then, if you have that 20% to play around with, do you ever sell or do you hold your meme coins?
That's the problem. Yeah, I still end up holding them for way too long, and I've definitely held until it's become zero before. But no, I've definitely been getting a lot better than that. It's just kind of like let's get out, and it's actually I finally started to stick to that. Is with the meme coins, let's get out when you start getting like a 4x or something like that.
Or at least take your initial out, right?
What's that?
Take your initial out so you can go play the next one.
Exactly. That's 100% what I've been doing, and trying to stick to that as much as I can now. Just on the long-term stuff, I'll go and touch on that a little bit. So yeah, of course IoTechs, but then a lot of it.
Stop. I hear noise.
Yeah, I don't know if that just come. Is it you? Yeah, it's you.
Okay, better now?
Yeah, better now.
Perfect. Good.
Yeah, a lot of it is IoTechs, of course, but then a lot of it is just like long-term opportunities that I see. And I mentioned earlier today, which is like stuff that has billion-dollar potential, has a great team behind it, and has the narrative that I love. And I think Kualu is one like that. I think there's a bunch that are coming through. Network 3, Rome has a credible opportunity as well once their token launches. These are the type of projects that I get really excited about, and it just happens that they're pretty much all in Deepin, just because I believe in this sector so much. So yeah, because of that, I've just been diving like fully into that. And Grass is one that we've seen do incredibly well recently, and I think there's a lot more that are going to follow suit.
Do you take into account the valuations and the tokenomics when you decide on these things, or are you just like, okay, I believe in this use case, I think this team can execute? Like, how many metrics do you take into account?
That is definitely one thing I do take into account. Like, is the FDV way too big? And if it's way too big, then I usually stay away. That's true. So Grass FDV is very big right now. This is not financial advice, by the way. Just quick disclaimer. But I do try and focus on like the lower market cap stuff that has lower market cap and lower FDV stuff that is a little bit more attractive to me because of the potential for it to be way bigger, especially when it's like, again, solid team, amazing narrative, all this stuff is aligned. So like, GeoNet's another example of that. These are the types of things where it's kind of ripe for investment, in my opinion, like XNet, these types of projects.
Okay, nice. That's a good answer. That's a good insight.
No, 100%. How about your side?
Well, I think the opportunities right now are in the liquid tokens. There is a lot of distressed liquid tokens that are undervalued in a sense. There isn't not a lot of tokens in the space that actually accrue value based off what value is in the network that they represent, or tokens with a network effect. There is not a lot of those, and I think the ones that are there, they are undervalued. Like, one of them that always comes to mind when I make this point is Rune, Torchain. It's just like, in my opinion, that's the project that makes total sense in terms of tokenomics. Like, in a way where the token accrues value based off the adoption of the network. And I think tokens and projects and networks should be built more based off that premise. If a network gets adoption, then the token accrues value. And Rune did that very well. And there's not a lot of projects that doing it that way. So those are the ones I'm looking for. I like right now, I don't really like to gamble that much anymore on low caps or new tokens. I'm more like, let's play the majors, let's play the ecosystems. I'm deep into Sol. I'm thinking to maybe diversify a bit into ETH again, because I feel like that might be a catch up. But then again, I still a big believer in Sol, and probably Sol is gonna come close to ETH in terms of like maybe even flipping. Not thinking it's gonna flip, but it's gonna come close. So I'm confident in Sol, and then I'm like my bet is a bit of like Tau BitTensor. Because it's that AI meme that I mentioned before, but also it's actually, I see BitTensor a bit of the Ethereum as the Ethereum for AI, where different projects can build different subnets, and then like this is a network effect where the projects building on top of the chain get the users and then benefit the main chain, and that's a network effect that I'm looking for.
So you're not afraid of those big valuation projects at all?
I mean, if I look at BitTensor and it's at a 3 to 5 billion valuation, and then I see Ethereum, which is at a how high is it? Like 250 billion or 400 billion, or who knows? Like, there's room. Like, if I compare BitTensor to Sui, it has a 4 to 5x potential. And I see BitTensor as a potential at least bigger than a potential Sui if AI becomes a thing. Like, I hear AI researchers mention that the BitTensor, you hear a lot of talks about sentient AI or AI personality or whatever, right? And apparently the BitTensor AI has one of the best sentiments compared to Web2 AIs. So there is a potential where the BitTensor AIs can outperform these Web2 AIs. And if that use case gets brought into that network, that might pull in all the users that are looking for that use case. And then suddenly you have network growth. And then suddenly that one chain is going to get all the users, and it's going to get that network effect, and everybody want to build. Like, that's what I like to bet on. I like to bet on network effects. And I guess I was never early in Ethereum because I never knew about Ethereum in the early days. But like, that's the network effect I'm looking for. Like, people building on top and then that accruing value to the base asset. That's what I like.
I guess one thing to think about when you are investing in high valuation things is only 7% of the global population is in crypto right now. So the pie is going to get bigger. Therefore, the valuation, it's not like the valuation of these massive valuation companies they're going to trickle down to making these small ones bigger. It's actually like the entire pie is going to get bigger. It just depends on which one's going to maybe X versus 1.0. It's definitely up for debate about what's going to be better. We'll have to see who wins, your higher valuation or my lower valuation.
There's a side note there though. The pie is getting bigger, but the dilution is also getting bigger. So not all projects are going to go up. And a lot of people start at a cycle thinking like, okay, yeah, in 2017, everything went up during alt season. So we expect that in 21 again. And then in 21 happens and alt season doesn't really happen like people expect. But still, everything kind of went up. But then now there's at least 10x more project, if not 100x more tokens, if you include the meme coins. And the capital of that total market cap, which we think is going to go to 10 trillion, we don't know, speculation, right? Is also divided over 1 million tokens compared to 8,000 tokens last cycle, right? So you got to be much more picky, and it's going to become a much harder market to actually trade and invest than it was before. And that's what I'm very well aware of, and I think it's very important to be aware of as well.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic point. That's a great reason to be focused on those bigger movers in each given sector. I 100% agree. That's a great point.
So that was the investment thesis. The last one is I want your bold prediction for the next year.
Bold prediction.
And that's the last one. We can close with a bold prediction from DeFi. No, not DeFi Aaron, from Deepin Aaron.
All right, I got to go to Deepin sector. So I predict that the Deepin market cap is going to go from 40 mil what it is now, 40 bill what it is now, to $100 billion market cap. I don't know if
Only
that's super cool, but I think $100 billion to start, easy.
100 billion is a lot. Yeah, that's a nice prediction. Yeah, that would be great if that plays out.
And, you know, mainstream consciousness, maybe we can just touch on regulations as well. Finally going to have a bill passed, and it's going to shoot the entire crypto market up like crazy, as it's very clear that this market is going to be investable for legitimate business.
100 billion. 100 billion. That means 100 unicorns.
There you go, 100 unicorns.
How many Deepin projects are there these days? 100?
Yeah, there's over 100. Yeah, there's
Okay,
hundreds.
okay.
So 300 Deepin projects now. Yeah.
Okay, I like that prediction. Okay, let's see. You have one more, not Deepin, Royce? Like, where is Bitcoin gonna go? What's the total crypto market cap gonna be? What's gonna be the unexpected attention grabber of the next cycle?
Yeah, let's do that. So because of these regulations that are coming through, which definitely that's a prediction in and of itself, which is there is going to be regulation that's passed, and this new administration is going to be definitely much more crypto friendly. But so is the left, the Democrats. I think they're going to be on board, or at least a good enough portion of them be able to get some of these bills passed. And with both sides coming together in this way, I think that $1,000 Bitcoin is not without out of the realm of possibility.
Okay, 250. That's a good one. I can live with that.
All right.
That's nice. Okay, good one.
I'll say that's basically 2.5x, which is exactly what I see as the Deepin market. So Bitcoin x Deepin market 2.5x. Same.
Okay, to your counterpart, I'm expecting Bitcoin to already have most of its run, and I think it's the altcoin turn for the next few months, where that you see Bitcoin consolidate a bit, where that it's finally, honestly, like looking at the lower time frames, I kind of see that shift happening right now on the charts, where Bitcoin is dumping a bit, but like you see Ethereum and Solana holding up against Bitcoin. I think it's like 2024 was the Bitcoin season, where Bitcoin had this time in the light, Bitcoin had the ETF, Bitcoin is going to become the strategic reserve, right? But that might take a while before that's implemented, and I think it's time for altcoins to catch up, especially those that actually have been building, that actually have created value, and that actually have created a real ecosystem. I think that's what's going to happen. I do hope Bitcoin goes to 250. I think that's indeed a nice target to hope for, but I wouldn't wait until taking profits till 250 on my Bitcoin. But I do see this as a beautiful opportunity for altcoins to catch up, and I think they deserve that catch-up time because they haven't had much time in the light yet. I think my bold prediction, I haven't really thought about it, to be honest. It's probably going to be something in AI. Shit's going to happen in AI. AI is happening so fast. Bold prediction, dude. Well, okay, a very bold prediction. I think Solana is going to flip ETH.
Wow. Okay. You heard it here first.
I just want to go. I just want to go to the extra step, the extra mile. Let's see. I would only bet my 20% of my money on it, but if we're gonna be bold, let's be bold. Solana flips ETH in 2024, 2025. I'm sorry, Aaron.
I do think the regulations are going to be a big thing here. It's going to make a huge difference crypto-wide. So
Sol ETF is going to make the flipping happen. That's what's going to happen.
Be a
the
huge
whole
factor.
world is going to know Solana is a consumer chain. People know that Ethereum is too expensive, so the whole world is going to flock into Solana ETF and flip. That's what's going to happen. Bold prediction.
There you go.
Aaron, the noise is gonna get worse, is getting worse. So thank you very much for this 2-hour long episode. It was great. I hope the audience loves our Christmas special. We'll definitely do much more of this. Screenshot. Peace out.
Quick screenshot, yeah. Hey.
Thanks for listening, everyone. See you next week. Thank you very much, Aaron. See you and good luck at the roundtable of Mario. Bye bye.
Thank you guys.